you. We will now move on to the Meet the Candidates portion of the evening. I'm going to give you a few rules. They're already sitting in ballot order, as you can see. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to give an opening statement. Following the statements, I will ask several prepared questions, and as time allows, questions submitted by members of the audience. Each candidate will then have 2 minutes to answer each question. Please note that we will not allow any questions that are for a specific candidate, meaning you will each be given an opportunity to answer every question. Each candidate will also have 1 minute for a closing statement. Mr. Roberti is going to handle the timekeeping. Okay. I'd like to ask the candidates to please ensure your answers address your position on a particular issue. As the title of the event suggests, the Meet the Candidates Forum is intended to give voters a view of where you stand on certain issues. It is not designed to be a debate. We will be filming both the budget hearing and the Meet the Candidates portion, and they'll be available on the website this week. Sure. 3 minutes. While Chris is just making sure the time's right. And then we'll just go in ballot order, so whenever you're ready.
Opt-outs as zeros for placing schools on the ESSA accountability list and made the majority of criteria for the list dependent on state test scores. This unfairly penalized schools like our own Draper Middle School. I say this to our governor, legislators, Commissioner Elia, and regents. Our children are not political pawns. Though all schools can and should improve, it's unethical to skew unreliable testing results to label a school a failure. I am Mohan proud, and our schools are quality schools, as evidenced by our high graduation rate. This year, we did not receive enough foundation aid from the state to meet our budget. Stuck between a tax cap that has now become permanent and a governor who refuses to acknowledge the need and importance of adequate school funding, we had to make some heart-wrenching decisions and let valuable people go. We may have lost the battle, but we must continue the fight to make sure that our students receive what they deserve in the way of foundation aid, and that legislators help us find answers for the problems of high health insurance and rising prescription costs. I ask for your vote to keep me in that fight. I would also like to say that I'm honored to run alongside Chad McFarland, who proved his worth to the school board on his previous term, and I hope to work with him once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. We'll just give them a second to reset, and whenever you're ready to.
Hello, everyone. I am grateful for this opportunity to be running for Mohonasen's Board of Education. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Tia Tocco, and I am a 2018 graduate of Mohonasen. I am currently an education major in college and a pre-service teacher. I am also unbelievably Mohan proud. I can honestly say that the Mohonasen Central School District and its community has shaped me into the person that I am today. During my 13 years as a student of Mohonasen, my life has been enriched by all of the teachers and unique programs our school has to offer. In particular, I was largely involved in the music department, where I served as Trium Honor Society Vice President and clarinet player for 9 years. I was also actively involved in the Family and Consumer Science department throughout high school, where I had the experience of completing the CEIP internship program. These programs and their respective teachers have allowed me to find my true passion, teaching. My philosophy of education is something that I have been finessing since my junior year of high school, and it incorporates aspects of Gardner's pedagogical theory of multiple intelligences, which basically means that I believe that every child possesses different levels of proficiency and understanding within varying subject areas, such as music, athletics, interpersonal skills, and many more. Children deserve to express these abilities and interests in a multitude of ways. This philosophy of education is based on my own experiences as a student of Mohonasen, and I want each child to be able to attain the academic enrichment that I was privileged to receive during my time. This intercurricular enrichment is essential to students' ability to achieve meaningful learning in the classroom, and this is something that I am committed to fighting for. During my final years as a student at Mohonasen, I was enthused to learn that our district had a large increase of opt-out rates in New York State testing for younger students. These tests are not a valid form of assessment for our children and can often lead to anxiety and stress. Tests like these also eliminate teacher freedom and create a teaching to the test mentality. This mentality is not why we become educators. We become teachers due to our love and support for children, as well as our commitment to lifelong learning. Our opt-out rate increase is a step in the right direction toward the goal of saving the public school system. I understand that Mohonasen is fighting a budget deficit at the moment due to lack of foundation aid, and I'm committed to being an advocate for our students, teachers, and community as we take strides towards gaining the funding we deserve. I want all current and future students of Mohonasen to be able to experience the diverse learning community that they deserve, so that they too can be Mohan proud.
Thank you, Tia. Jenna?
Good evening, and thank you for coming out here tonight. My name is Jenna Coutant-Walker, and I am a proud graduate of Mohonasen. I have lived in this district my entire life, and have gone through the school system, starting in kindergarten and ending in my graduation in 2018. When I initially tell people that I'm running for the school board, I sometimes receive initial reactions that are quite shocked. And usually these people comment and say, "Why would you want to run for the school board? Do you know how much hard work that is? But you're so young," or my favorite, "Don't you think you're getting a little ahead of yourself?" But for those who know me, they understand that this district means a lot to me. They know that just because something seems hard, I am not going to turn away from a challenge. I understand that seeing a teenager running for the school board is not something that you typically see. However, I would not be sitting here tonight talking to all of you if I did not think I could handle this position. I'm a pre-service teacher in college, and where I'm learning up-to-date teaching practices, philosophies, and ideals. This past school year, I volunteered my spare time to help out the Mohonasen Marching Band and Mohonasen Indoor Percussion Ensemble during their competition seasons. Additionally, I have previously done internships within the Draper Middle School as well. With these experiences, as a former student, community member, and pre-service teacher, I believe I hold a beneficial viewpoint to offer the board, for I have up-to-date understanding of the environment that actually goes on inside of our school. I realize that student advocation is important, and the students in this community deserve to have a voice in their education. By educating these students, we are essentially building our future. I advocate for student-centered practices where students are able to grow in an academically rich, nurturing, and safe environment, and these are the principles that Mohonasen holds so dear. It would be an honor to serve on the Mohonasen Board of Education and to have the opportunity to support my community and aid the upcoming generation in their future successes.
Thank you. Chad?
Thank you. At the onset, I would like to admit that it's a little awkward to be up here talking about ourselves tonight, knowing the somber mood that's in our community. Both personally, I think collectively, our hearts go out to the loss of that young boy at Draper Middle School. And so I send my encouragement and kudos to Dr. Shine, to the principals at the schools, and for counseling and staff professionals who are able to be there for our children at this time. That said, this evening certainly has a genuine purpose, and I'll get on with it. My name is Chad McFarland, and I am a father of 3 daughters in our public schools and a Rotterdam resident. I am passionate to see that my daughters and all of our students receive the best quality education that our teachers can give them. In 2015, when I first ran for Board of Education, I found the climate between the governor's office and the unfair burdens on our district's teachers to be quite abysmal, as well as the high-stakes testing and Common Core essentially being crammed down parents' throats with little or no buy-in. And as many other parents in our community, I felt compelled that change was desperately needed in our district. That year, I was elected as a board member along with Patrick Ryan and Pamela Young, and we helped foster a climate of more openness, inclusivity, and administrative accountability, and removing the stigma of engaged teachers voicing their concerns. I believe that many will attest that in those first 3 years, our board began a trajectory of parents being heard in greater degree and board members signaling to the administration at that time that we should recognize the overarching benefit of parents making informed decisions and communicating that our board respected parents' decisions when it came to opting out of bumbled, ineffective, unreliable, and at times terrifying high-stakes testing on our students. My professional trade is advocacy. I'm a licensed attorney of 15 years, having worked as an advocate both in the private and the public sector, on active duty and now as a senior attorney with the New York State Department of Labor Counsel's office. I'm convinced that I have the analytical aptitude, communication skills, and demonstrated leadership that develop policy, identify strategic areas for improvement or amendment, cultivate parent and teacher collaboration, and make all decisions for the betterment of our schools, our stakeholders, and our community. That, in turn, fosters a healthier climate for teachers doing what they do best, encouraging steady involvement of parents, and helps all of our children thrive in our public schools. That's some of the many reasons why I'm running for board member this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. All right, we're going to go on to our prepared questions. The candidates will have 2 minutes each to answer. The first question is there a particular issue that motivated you to serve on the Board of Education?
Well, that's kind of easy because I just said so in my speech. But I was a teacher for 23 years, and the last few years teaching, I realized that the high-stakes testing was not what the state said it was, and that it was, first of all, was unfair to some students, for example, students that had English as their second language, and special needs students, and that students were, even the gifted students that I taught, were stressed out to the maximum for the test. In fact, one little girl ran to the bathroom and threw up. And I had never seen that before in all the years that I had taught. And so I started to educate myself about the testing, and it led to a plethora of other information about private schools being made receivership schools and charters moving in. And I looked at the people who were funding all of that, and it was hedge funders like Robert Mercer and the Waltons, and maybe Matt. So when I retired in 2014, I became an activist, and I started lobbying. I lobbied at the state level, but I also went to Congress and at the national level and lobbied there. So when it came around to what do I do in my local school to help support them and to help fight back against this, and I thought I should run for the board, and that was 3 years ago. And actually, I was kind of hoping I wouldn't have to run again because I thought maybe in 3 years things will be better. They're not all that much better. In fact, the budget situation is much worse. So that's why I'm running again.
Thank you. Tia?
I'm running for the Board of Education because it was first brought to my interest when all over social media, when the proposed cuts were, released of all the staff and music teacher position and just a large uproar, and me being actively involved in the music department throughout high school, that meant a lot to me. And when I attended the meeting that night in March and I heard the community and parents and students speak up about what these programs meant to them, what teachers meant to them, I realized that it was way more than just a music position being cut. It was teachers being cut and class sizes being largened, and how can children get the instruction they deserve when there is 26 of them crammed into a class. So that's when I started thinking, I'm a most recent graduate of Mohonasen. I know what goes on in these walls, and I feel like I can really help out and serve on the board and give a student-centered view.
Thank you.
So the reason that I'm currently running for the Board of Education is actually very, very similar to Tia's. So I remember when I went to the budget proposal initial hearing on Monday in March, I remember seeing all these kids step up to the microphone, and I reflect on that instance, and I remember thinking I could have never done something like that when I was in Pinewood. Heck, I couldn't even do something like that 2 years ago. But I saw these kids walking up to the microphone and advocating for the programs that meant so much to them, and for the teachers that have deeply impacted them. And I remember feeling heartbroken that they have to be in that situation where something that they love and cherish so much could be ripped from them. So upon further reflection, I realized that, you know what, I could make a difference in this school. I truly value the music department, teachers. As a future educator, I couldn't imagine putting so much of my heart into a classroom and then seeing these students grow and knowing that I wouldn't be there with them in the future. So that's when I decided I wanted to run for the school board, because I wanted to make a difference. Because sometimes the students' opinions aren't really highlighted when it comes to making decisions for their education. And they deserve to have a voice in their education, that's the reason why we're all here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Much like Deb Escobar in my opening remarks, I give a little bit of the history of the impetus for why I ran for board 2015. I'm running again because some of the things, there's carryover, but I've also seen improvement. I think 2015 I tended to be kind of the rebel rouser and thinking that a lot of things needed to be changed within our district. But the paramount issue then was the high stakes testing tied to the assessments that were given to our students. But when I was on the board, I actually found, I think, a right placement in the committees that I served on. I served on the policy committee. I realized that for years our board had not kept up with the statutory mandate of updating our board policies. The current legal landscape of several major legislation passing in previous years that affect our district, the way that we administer our schools, and very sensitive social issues that have now been changed in legislation in New York and in our country. So serving on the policy committee is something I'd like to continue to do. Some of the other reasons that I think I would really be a great asset to our board in the next 3 years is to collaborate and work with Dr. Shannon Shine. I think that was one of the most important things in my first few years agenda, was to see and usher in maybe a change in administration that took a new path and set a different tone. And in the past year, I can say from an outside vantage point that I like what I see. I think that as a fellow stakeholder and person to administer our school district, I look forward to the opportunity as a member of a board working with our current administration to do everything we can in this time of fiscal demands and improving the environment for our schools.
Thank you, Chad. The next question is, what is your vision for education in the community?
my vision for education in the community is to build 21st century learners, and 21st century learners are based on communication, collaboration, creation, and critical thinking. And I think our implementation of the CAP building and using that differentiated instruction and maybe finding ways for children who maybe don't want to go off to college, they can use trade and they can learn those science, math, technology, the STEM that is ever growing in today's society. I think that's really important.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please?
What is your vision for education in this community?
So I definitely think that we're headed in the correct direction when it comes to education in our community. Like Thea previously said, implementation of the CAP building, and we're leaning towards more differentiated approaches. We're leaning more towards service learning aspects, more hands-on learning. You can't get that type of education everywhere in this region, but at Mohonasen you have opportunities that other schools cannot provide. For education purposes, I feel that we have to take more steps to ensuring that each of our students get what they need. I'm not talking about every student gets a perfect score on a standardized test, but I'm talking about finding what their passion is, being able to implement that through education, because every student isn't a mathematician, or every student isn't even a musician. However, this school, which I'm very proud of having the opportunity to, allows students to express themselves in ways that other schools are not being able to. So I feel like that's a great direction where education is going in our community.
Thank you. Chad?
Thank you. That's a question that can have so many different responses. So to kind of echo the sentiments of my colleagues here, I think I'd focus just on experience and as a resident here of New York in one fundamental area, and that's the political landscape we see ourselves in New York, on Governor Cuomo's educational policies, and what do we do with the challenges that we have. Personally, I believe that Governor Cuomo's education policies are to fundamentally remove local control of our public schools, choke funding from local public schools so that our state devolves into a charter school framework that at its underpinnings are designed to make certain political cronies a lot of money by profiting from such a systematic change to the state. The fact remains that New York is one of the highest tax states in the country, and yet the funding and programs to facilitate academic and vocational excellence do not correlate to the high taxes demanded of our residents and local businesses by the state. So I think for our community, I think that our district, although it might be small, has been very mighty in mobilizing and things that affect us. I think the recent successful petitioning of our state legislator and state senator was very important to try to get a little bit more money from the state. Obviously, the governor's proposed budget was different from the money that the Assembly and the Senate approved, and that was in large part because of our district's community mobilizing and acting these key players to help what has been completely underfunded, and in my personal opinion, is unconstitutional withholding of the state formula that our district is owed.
Thank you, Chad. Deborah?
So my vision, you're going to be sorry you asked me because I could go on all night, but I won't. What I would like to see is a dynamic school that gives students what they need. And when I think about that, I think about services to our more economically challenged students. Enough counselors in the school so that we don't have school safety issues. We need enough money to provide enough adults in the building to be mentors and teachers to those students. And all of the things that are hitting us so hard right now, the problems with unfunded mandates, the problems with rising health insurance and prescription costs, all of those things need a solution. So my goal would be to find solutions, because when I think about the adjective that most probably describes me, I'm a problem solver. I dig in like a dog with a bone. I will not let go until I get an answer. People who know me know this. And right now we need answers. So one of my questions, and what I intend to do to continue lobbying, is can we get a statewide prescription plan that all the schools could participate in and keep the costs down? I know we're in a consortium, but not all the schools participate in the prescription end of that for various reasons. And if we had all of the students in the same prescription plan statewide, or not students, all the schools in the same prescription plan statewide, it would bring us more power as far as fighting back with rising costs, but it would also give us some discount by the method of quantity. You know, the more quantity you have, the more you can get a discount. That's how drugstores stay in business, right? So I would like to continue to lobby for that. I'm kind of planning on my own. I need to meet with people, because one of the things I do is go off on my own a lot. But I need to meet with people. And so I'd like to have, just one last thing, I'd like to have a rally in the fall to ask for more funding. Thanks.